Now, those of you who keep asking why we need to eat eggs and fatty meat, here is the reason. You should consume plenty of eggs and plenty of that meat, make it fatty, and because that is a high amount of cholesterol. Now, I understand that the system has made you believe that cholesterol is very dangerous. It will cause you heart problems and atherosclerosis, that occlusion of blood vessels, and that you might end up in heart attack. Let's try and correct that too. Now, you need cholesterol to survive. You cannot do without cholesterol for a reason. Number one, cholesterol forms a bilayer, the lipid bilayer that covers your cell membrane. So the cell membrane is made up of cholesterol. And therefore, if you don't have cholesterol, your cells will be exposed. You will die. Number two, cholesterol forms things that are called, or hormones and neurotransmitters that are basically called steroidal hormones. Now, steroidal hormones means they come from steroid. And that steroid structure comes from cholesterol. Now, steroidal hormones are examples: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And these are hormones that play a very important role in reproductive and secondary characteristics of men and women, or even the general characteristics of a man and a woman. So if you lack cholesterol, you will have a deficiency in those hormones, and you will have female reproductive problems and male reproductive problems. Example, those men who are taking drugs that lower cholesterol levels. An example is atorvastatin. These drugs, the number one side effect is erectile dysfunction. And that comes as a result of lowering cholesterol, and therefore you lower testosterone. And therefore, the functions that come as a result of testosterone levels start to disappear, like erection, manhood, and you will start forming those man boobs. You start having issues in erection and even premature ejaculation. So you need cholesterol. Again, another hormone that is very important in your immunity and comes from the skin and is activated by the sun is called vitamin D. Vitamin D comes from cholesterol. So if you don't have cholesterol, or if you have a reduced amount of cholesterol, then you'll have a reduced amount of vitamin D, and therefore immunity will be compromised. Your bone development, and bone function, and bone strength will also be compromised. So you'll have all those fractures. You'll have all that, all those issues like osteomalacia and such, and low immunity. Again, cholesterol plays a major role in formation of bile. Now, if you know, bile is the one that is used to sequester or to make fats more soluble so that you can absorb them easily. If you don't absorb fat, you will not absorb fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. So you need bile, which comes from cholesterol, to absorb fat-soluble vitamins that have different functions. Vitamin A for vision and the skin function, vitamin D for bone function and immunity, vitamin E for detoxification of the body, and vitamin K for prevention of blood clotting. Okay? For helping in blood clotting. So if you don't have vitamin K, then you have issues with blood clotting, and therefore you might bleed to death. So bile is very important, and bile comes from cholesterol. Then again, skin health, we just mentioned vitamin A. And the last one has to be myelination of nerve cells. So your nerve cells have that coating, that insulation, and that insulation helps you transmit nerve impulses faster. If you studied biology, you know the myelinated nerves transmit nerve impulses faster than the non-myelinated ones. And that myelination is basically cholesterol. So if you don't have cholesterol, then your nerve transmission will have a problem. Okay. Also, cholesterol plays a role in digestion and absorption of food. So you can imagine how cholesterol is important in your system, but the system has made you believe that cholesterol is dangerous, and that's why seed oils are labeled 0% cholesterol, to just convince you that you will not get cholesterol and you will not suffer. I already classified cholesterol into two: the high density lipoprotein and the low density lipoprotein. And I told you the high density lipoprotein is the safe one, and the LDL, the low density one, is sometimes thought to be the dangerous one or the harmful one. However, in the low density lipoprotein, we also classify it into two. One is the large buoyant LDL, and the other one is the small dense LDL. Now, the large buoyant LDL is still the safe one. So you can imagine in that bad cholesterol, we still have one that is safe, the large buoyant LDL. Now, if you ever go to hospital and you take a cholesterol test and you're told that your cholesterol levels are high, relax. It's not the beginning of your problems, because that only indicates that maybe your diet is a problem, or you might be having a high amount of LDL, the low density lipoprotein, that is the unsafe one, but you have the high amount of the same LDL, that is large buoyant LDL, which means you're still safe. So the only thing you need to do is, if your tests show that you have a high amount of LDL, then ask them for a triglyceride to LDL ratio. Okay, they have to give you that ratio. If that ratio is high, then you'll start to know you're headed in the wrong direction. You'll start to realize that your low density lipoprotein, the type that is the small dense, is the one that is high, and that is the one that is precipitates your blood vessels and causes occlusion and clotting and inflammation. So that atherosclerosis. So it might end up taking you into heart conditions. So just remember this. Inside the LDL, the unsafe one, we still have the safe one and the unsafe one. And if your LDL ratio the LDL is high, then ask them for LDL to triglyceride ratio. If that ratio is high, then you start editing your diet. Do not rush to take atorvastatin and those drugs. They will mess you up. Start editing your kitchen. Okay? Drop seed oils, drop wheat products, drop sugar in all forms, including fruits and honey, and then start fasting. Your liver will rejuvenate and you will get cleared. You will get off that problematic LDL. So that is cholesterol. So eat your eggs in plenty. Men, eat your eggs because of testosterone. Eat that chicken plus the skin. Eat that meat and make it fatty, and cook your foods in fats that come from animals.